So this is what I'm driving in Bahrain. A very terrible Audi A6. You know, it actually could, yes, I've got a mask on, they're compulsory here, so I have to wear them. This car could be better, it just hasn't had a service, I think, in about 4 years. So it's pretty bad. It's definitely not a 911. Okay, so I'm going to the supermarket. Still in semi-isolation here. I'm wearing my Rolex BLNR GMT Master II. So this is the Bahrain Mall. Bahrain Mall is called the Family Mall, and that's where I'm going. My excitement of the day to go and get some groceries. So that's it. Grocery shopping is done. Quick trip to the Bahrain Mall. It's still Ramadan here in Bahrain, so you can't drink water out in the street or anything. So you can't eat or drink because it's still Ramadan until the weekend. But yeah, I just thought I'd fill this video in with a bit of the shopping, and then I'm going to get back to the apartment and we're going to talk about watches. We're going to talk about my GMT Master, my BLNR, my AKA Batman, Batgirl as some of you like to call it. And I'm going to have a chat about why I'm starting to like this watch. Did I like it before? Not as much as I thought I would, but I am now. You know, I bought the GMT Master II. I bought the GMT Master II 126710. I bought it back in December. I bought it from an official dealer here in the Middle East, and I was happy to get the watch. Those of you who know my story know that originally I was after the Pepsi. Like a lot of people, the Pepsi, the Daytona are very sought after. It's very hard to get one at retail. There's a lot of grey sellers. It's very hard to get any Rolex at retail, as we know, but there are a lot of grey market sellers. There's a lot of people buying them to sell on at double the price. Daytonas are fetching about double the price now in the UK. Pepsis are hitting the 15,000, 16,000 pound mark still. I mean, they may drop, they may not. The Batman is a little bit less, but I was looking for the Pepsi. And I went into the AD here where I'm based here in Bahrain, and I went in there a few times, and eventually I was in Madrid. I was working on a project in Madrid, and I got a phone call. And the phone call was, what I was thinking the phone call was going to be was, we've got your Pepsi. But it wasn't about we've got your Pepsi. It was, if you like, we will give you a Batman. I know some of you call it Batgirl, but that's what the dealer called it. She said, we have a Batman, GMT Master II, BLNR 126710 reference, brand new, official dealer. Would you like it? We got 7 in, you can have one of them. So after 24 hours, I decided to take the watch. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I haven't actually been wearing the watch that much. And the watch I'm saying is the watch that I've actually got on today. And I will show you some close-ups of it in a second. And the last 3 days I've actually been wearing the watch. So I thought, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with the watch. I don't know whether in the back of my mind I always wanted the Pepsi, and this is like second best. I don't know whether the blue and red of the Pepsi bezel would actually suit me better. In some ways I think the blue and the black ceramic bezel, Cerachrome bezel, is probably a better match for me. I don't like reds and I don't like bright colors. But there's something about the Pepsi and the draw of the Pepsi. And I think the draw of the Pepsi, and it's not the hype of the Pepsi, don't get me wrong. It's just the older Pepsis, the Pepsis that are around, I think is swaying me to not love the BLNR as much as I should. And it's wrong actually, because the BLNR, I think in some ways is actually a better looking watch. And I know a lot of you prefer it on the Oyster bracelet, the one that was discontinued. This is the new release, newish release on the Jubilee. How long Rolex will keep it for, what other colors they might introduce, who knows in the GMT Master. But we do know that the two watches, the two Rolex watches, three Rolex watches actually in GMT Master that are sought after are the root beer, which Natasha has, my wife, the Pepsi, probably number one with the Daytona, but in GMT Masters, and the Batman, Batgirl, BLNR. So I've been putting on the wrist a lot in the last few days, and I've been wearing it, and I have to say I've been a little bit tough on it because I haven't been wearing it, and I haven't not been wearing it just to save it so it doesn't get scratched. I'm not gonna flip it. I'm not saying this because I'm saying, oh, you know, you're just gonna flip the watch and that's what this is all about. It's not about flipping the watch. I'm just saying, as a watch, and I had this story back when I was telling Panerai, every watch has a story, and I guess this is the story of my Batman. This is the story of the BLNR. And the story began, like I said, wanting a Pepsi, not getting a Pepsi. I'm still on the wait list for a Pepsi, and I still may get a Pepsi. It's not, I haven't ruled that out. They have definitely said that they will give me one when they have one available, which, you know, was supposed to be end of April, May, but then all the coronavirus, COVID-19 things started happening, and the store was closed here, and Rolex stopped production, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. And I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't really been in there. I've tried to be sensible and not buy any watches for at least a few months. But the GMT Master II BLNR is a really, really special watch, and I think it is overshadowed a little bit by the color of the Pepsi, and the Pepsi dial being a little bit more desirable, it seems. And I know of you guys who own both, or those of you who have the Batman will say, no, the Batman's much better. I think they're both great watches. Do I need both? This is the problem. If the Pepsi becomes available, and I've said this before, do you need two GMT Masters? They're both on Jubilee. The bezel is different ceramic colors, that's it. Apart from that, they're the same watch. It's hard to say. It's like people that buy Submariners. Do you need a vintage Submariner and a modern Submariner with no date? Do you need a Submariner no date and a Submariner date and a Sea Dweller? I mean, it's those nuances, isn't it? It's the nuances that you pick up on that we like, which is why we collect watches, which is why we're interested in watches, and which is why we buy watches. But the Rolex GMT Master II, and let me show it to you for a little bit. Let me just show you some close-ups of the watch so you can really appreciate the GMT Master II 126710 BLNR. I'm shooting through a very dirty window, but the sun is setting in Bahrain. That's water just over there. But it's really nice when the sun is setting here. Anyway, we're getting distracted. That window is absolutely disgusting. Sorry about that. But that's the best view I can show you. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, let's just take a look at the GMT Master II for those of you who are not familiar with it. But as you can see from the following footage, the watch is a very beautiful watch. But the GMT Master II, Rolex always like to show the Pepsi as the main watch. It's very interesting because they always show the Pepsi, but the Pepsi is probably the hardest to find. So they always like to tempt you. But you know the GMT Master II, it shows the time in two different time zones. Launched in 1955 originally and developed as, you know, for people crossing the globe to get world time, to know the time in two different time zones, three different time zones even. Yeah, so the GMT Master comes in a few variants, as some of you guys will know. I mean, it comes in the full Everose Gold, it comes in the Oyster Steel and Everose Gold, and it comes in the Oyster Steel, which is the BLNR. And it comes with the meteorite dial, the Oyster 40mm, which is very expensive, but very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful watch. And as I said, you know, the Pepsi has been the flavor. The Pepsi is the one everyone's after. And as you can see on the Rolex site, when you configure, that's my watch there, which they're showing first, which is nice of them. And then you can configure it to the Pepsi with the red and blue dial. And you can also pick, those of you who are familiar with their website, but we can pick Oyster Steel. We can select that model. And as you can see, this is the thing. The only difference is the bezel. So I think the BLNR at the moment is a little bit underrated. I think in years to come, it may even outshine the Pepsi. Why do I think that? I think that because it didn't exist before. It existed on the Oyster bracelet, of course. I mean, I'm talking about the BLNR in general, Oyster and Jubilee. So the first release being on the Oyster. And I think, you know, a lot of people who've got the first release think that's going to be very collectible, and they're probably right. They're probably right. Sorry, just had to adjust the aperture, it was a bit blown out. And they're probably right because it was the first Rolex with that colored bezel. And how could they do those colors? What made it possible? It's because of their development in-house. Rolex developed, as we know, Rolex does their own metals. It names their own metals. It does their own ceramic, Cerachrome. It does their own ceramic finishes, ceramic bezels. It does everything in-house, and I guess that's how they keep their intellectual property so tight, because they do develop this in-house and they do it very, very well. And Rolex quality, we all know it's really, really good quality. They're really hard-wearing watches, and they're built to last, based on their history as a tool watch and based on the years of experience. You know, a Rolex is like a 911. It's put together really, really well. So why have I been hard on the BLNR? I think I've been hard on the BLNR because of the hype of the Pepsi. And I think it was, like I said, because of the fact that I originally wanted a Pepsi, and I wouldn't say the BLNR was second best. And I did think about it for 24 hours, I guess, before I actually did the deed and said I'd take it. But an opportunity comes up. For a watch, and certain watches don't come up very often. The BLNR is one of those watches. It may not be the same level as a Pepsi. It may never be as popular as a Pepsi. It may not be as higher. It may not appreciate as much as a Pepsi. But that really doesn't matter, because the more and more I wear this watch, and like I said, it's the third day I've had it on. If you follow my Instagram, Michael.Bath, I think I said that. It's the third day of wearing it. I haven't worn it much since I bought it in December, but I'm really, really loving this Rolex. If you can't get a Pepsi, don't think you're settling for second best getting a BLNR, because it really is a fantastic watch. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.